What is up, guys? Patrick here for How I Became, and today we are talking to Craig from CraigTube. So Craig, how did you become CraigTube?
How you doing, Patrick? I joined YouTube in 2006, I believe, and I had no idea, what I was going to do. I'm a videographer by nature, so as soon as I found out you could put video on the internet, I was all about it. I was all over that. So I thought, yeah, I could do some cooking or play the drums, or and which is kind of what I did. I'm a drummer, so I did some drumming videos. And I just stuck some home videos up on there just to see how people would respond. And it was just really just an experiment. I didn't think it was going to last. I figured I'd get bored of it in 6 months and move on to something else. And I was standing out the front of my house one day and with a neighbor. And we were talking. I was drinking a home brew. Now, this is kind of what it's all about, just for your viewers, in case they don't know. My channel is about, it's about making your own beer. So this is what I was doing, standing outside drinking one of my own homemade beers. And he said to me, he says, "You make that stuff?" And I was like, yeah, I make it. I make it in my house. "How do you do that?" He says, How do you make beer?" So I started explaining a thing or two, and very basic. And he was kind of looking at me kind of sideways, like, "Oh man, I don't know. It sounds kind of complicated." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. I'll make a video of myself making a batch, and I'll put it on YouTube." Of course, this was 2007 by now, and in 2007, not that many people knew what YouTube even was.
Yeah.
But and there wasn't really a lot of content on YouTube. I mean, it was only a year and a half old at that time, the service. So I went in and I thought, sure, I'll do this brewing video. Now, when I created the channel, they ask you for a username. What do you want as a name, And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, it's YouTube, right? So you is you and me and
Yeah.
Craig. So I just called it CraigTube. And that's how the name came about. So I had, a few different videos up on there of playing the drums and singing and whatnot. And then, so I did this brewing video. And it was a 4-part series, how to make beer. And it was really crude. I mean, here I am in the kitchen with a pot and a spatula and a can opener and, this malt extract that you can buy, that, you used to make the beer with, and some sugar and very basic stuff. And I just said, you know what? This is how I do it. I know there's more complicated ways of making beer, and there's more that you can put into it, more ingredients, but I'm kind of lazy, and this is the way I do it. And why do I brew beer? Save money. Beer's expensive where I live. So if you can make your own, it's much cheaper, and you can make just as good a beer, if not better, when you make it yourself. It's just as good, if not better, than store-bought beer. So I did that, and the video, because at the time there wasn't really a lot of brewing videos on YouTube, or if any, maybe there might have been one or two. So it was something new, something different. And again, there was like a lot of cats falling off of windowsills, but there wasn't a lot of brewing stuff. So I kind of got in the game early, which is kind of, I think, one of the reasons why it's gotten to the point where it is.
Yeah.
So that, that's how it started. Now, I don't know how much further you want me to, I can, explain how it sort of picked up, but
Yeah, that's a question I'll ask later, but I would like to know, like, how you got into, like, brewing beer, and how you started that love for, creating your own alcohol rather than buying it.
Well, I mean, I enjoy beer. I always did, since I was, old enough to drink it. And my dad used to brew his own beer. As a matter of fact, there was a strike. Now, here in Ontario, the alcohol is controlled. Like, it's under control by the government. So you can't just buy beer and stuff in a grocery store. You have to actually go to a special store and where you buy it. And so if these chain of stores go on strike, you can't buy beer. You just can't.
Okay.
So my dad, he used to get home from work, and he used to enjoy a cold one after work. And there was a strike, and you couldn't buy beer. So, the strike went on for 3 weeks or something like that. So anyway, after that, I think my dad just said, you know what? This isn't going to happen again. I'm going to make my own beer. So I remember him and my mom in the kitchen, there's these big white buckets that you ferment the beer in, and they'd be sitting in the kitchen with the little airlock bubbling away, stunk like I don't know what. And because back then, it really there wasn't a lot of, technology going into the ingredients. It was very crude. And, but I remember him and my mom bottling and capping the beers in the kitchen with newspapers all spread around. And so when I think I was about 20 years old, I dragged out his old beer brewing equipment, and I said, I'm going to give this a whirl. Let me see if I can do this. And so I did. And it was like, cool. The natural reaction for anybody who makes their own batch of beer for the first time is like, wow, I made this. I made this myself. And it tastes good. It's beer. And then, when you can save money as well, because, here, if you make your own, it's about a third of the price than it is to buy beer.
Okay.
So that's was another motivation for me. And I never looked back. And once I started making it, I always made my own. I never bought it anymore, or very, very rarely bought it.
So you talk about YouTube. You saying YouTube is more of a hobby than a full-time job. What hobbies did you have before YouTube, and did they integrate into YouTube? Was the brewing beer another hobby that you integrated into YouTube, or did you have other things you did?
Well, before I did the brewing videos, like I said, I'm a drummer, so I did some, drumming videos on YouTube, which they're still there. Cooking. I love to cook, so I did a couple of those types of things. Music was my main hobby growing up. I've written songs and everything, and I've had stuff on the radio and whatnot. But so I guess I kind of thought, that's probably where the channel was going to go, toward the direction of music, or something along the lines of that, or cooking stuff, because I was always a how-to guy. I loved watching the how-to videos when I was a kid. All the fixing up houses, or cooking, or whatever. And so I thought, hey, if I'm going to be in front of the camera, those are the kinds of things I'd like to do. The brewing thing wasn't really a hobby for me. It was more out of necessity, and by that I mean you'd have to drink. But if I'm going to enjoy a few beers on the weekend or whatever, I'm going to make it. I'm not going to buy it because it's too expensive here. Yeah. It's not expensive everywhere in the world. Some places it's cheap as dirt. But in some countries, beer is very expensive. And so the thought of making your own, for much, much cheaper, is enticing. So the brewing wasn't a hobby. It was more a thing that I did out of necessity. Is like, well, if I'm going to drink it or I'm not. If I'm going to drink it, I'm going to make it. Otherwise, forget it. It's too expensive. And of course, I was young and I was on a budget, going to college. So as far as the YouTube channel thing, like I said, at first, the music and the cooking and stuff, the beer thing came along later. And without jumping forward too far in the conversation here, the brewing did become a hobby after a while. But I guess that a little bit later. What
video would you say accelerated your channel's growth at first? Like, what video made you think this YouTube thing, was kind of blowing up? Because at the moment you have a big community, and there must have been a point where a certain video or something just accelerated that growth.
Well, ironically enough, the video that has accelerated the growth is an embarrassing one, because it was the first homebrew video I ever did, and the one we talked about a little bit earlier, the 4-part series that I did for my neighbor. And I was wearing this really, really baggy, weird-looking sweatshirt, and I was totally bummed out. I mean, I didn't think anything was going to come of this. I did it for my neighbor, and but that video, when it started showing up on websites, and now it's all over. I wish I could delete it, because it's a little embarrassing. I was nervous. Yeah. I did not know how to speak properly on camera. I was mostly behind the camera with being a videographer. Wasn't used to being in front of it. I was very nervous, and I just didn't know what I was doing, you know. But that video is linked all over the internet now. So if I take it down, and people look at it and they laugh, and you know what? Still, even today, it's still the foot in the door for some people. When they watch that, they start watching, you know, more of my videos. So,
Yeah.
But it's Homebrewing the Easy Way is the name of the video, and I think it's about 8 years old. How old? It's a 2007. So you do the math. That's when it was.
7 years old now.
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
What kept you on YouTube rather than moving on to something else as a hobby? Like, what was the reason for you to keep doing the YouTube videos? Was it something that you enjoyed, or did you like the community, or what aspect of it kept you going over the last 7 years?
Well, at first it was the responses I was getting from the videos, and you know, back then, I mean, I had 50 to 100 subscribers, so you'd get 30, 40 views on your videos, but it was cool to see the comments. It was kind of a neat experience to put yourself out there. And again, this is, you know, nowadays it seems, you know, normal to do this, but back then, this is, you know, YouTube being the first video posting, you know, video service there was, as far as I know, and a popular one anyway. It was a weird experience to put something out there and then watch the responses, watch people you don't even know respond and say things and comment and whatnot. And generally the responses I was getting were good. And I mean, my reason for staying on YouTube back then is different than my reason for staying on YouTube now. There was times when there was challenges. It got to a certain point. I should mention actually that I did get a bit of a break. At some point, YouTube contacted me. This is, again, back maybe 2008.
Okay.
They contacted me and said, you know, we're going to feature your channel on the page that people get taken to after they sign up for an account.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, you sign up for a YouTube account, and then it would take you to, you know, a page that basically says, all right, now you're a YouTuber. Here's some stuff you might enjoy.
Okay.
And my channel was featured on that page for 4 days. And I think I got about 1,500 subscribers in 4 days.
Wow.
That was a boost for me because once you've got a number of subscribers like that, it starts to snowball. And so that was a big help. But, you know, once it got to that point, there was some challenges. There was a couple of guys trying to troll me, trying to make videos making fun of me, trying to discredit what I was saying. And I really thought to quit for a while. I just thought, you know, I can't take this humiliation. You know, I'm putting myself out there, and these guys are totally ripping me to shreds. And I thought to quit. And I sort of mentioned it, I think, in one of my videos or something. And a bunch of my viewers just said, hey, Craig, dude, just do what you do. We like what you do. Just don't, you know, ignore those people and just keep on doing what you do because we like it. So thanks to my viewers, and I'm going to give my viewers credit several times during this interview because it's them that have kept this going. Yeah, really. And the responses and the kindness and the things that come in the mail and just, you know, all of that. They put me on the right track. And, you know, I tried to do other things. You know, I tried to go back to the drumming and back to the cooking and back to the other stuff. And they were like, hey, Craig, you know, we want more brewing. Brew some more beer, you know? So the viewers put me on the path. It was never going to be a home brewing channel, or I would have called it Craig Brew or something. Would have had something. The title would have had something to do with beer or brewing if that's what my intention was in the beginning. But it wasn't. I was always, you know, veering off and doing other things, and they always brought me back to the beer. So it's really the viewers back then, and some of them are still loyal and around today, that put me on the beer path, the home brew path for YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And so those are some of the things that have kept me going. As far as the trolls and whatnot, all that did was make me step up my game. I said, you know what? I need to prove to these people that I'm not what these people are saying, these troll people. Yeah. And so I stepped up my game. I started using more ingredients. I started experimenting with more things. using a little more complicated methods for brewing, getting more into the nuts and bolts of it, and turning it into a hobby rather than just a necessity. And so once I did that, things really took off.
But my next question was going to be, like, how do you balance YouTube with your work and family life?
Luckily, my line of luckily, I'm very flexible. You know, there's one thing people ask me a lot, and I get asked this all the time because it's the one thing I don't talk about. Well, Craig, what do you do for a living? You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
And, you know, I put myself out there a lot. You know, I talk about my family. I've shown practically the entire interior of my house. I've shown my neighborhood. I've had friends, you know, and I've given lots of myself out there. There's just some things that I've decided to keep private, and there's reasons why, you know, I need to keep some things private, because if I don't, then there's things could, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's important. I do support my family. My wife and I both work very hard. And now, as far as balancing it, my wife is very understanding, and she knows how much I enjoy doing this. She knows that it means a lot to a lot of people, and you know what? It keeps me busy in my spare time. And I mean, I'm a father of 4 kids. 2 of them live here. And I'm obviously a husband, and I have responsibilities, and I pull my weight. And YouTube is something, and not only YouTube, there's other things I do as well, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. It's a hobby. It's a wonderful community, the brewing community.
Yeah.
On YouTube. We call ourselves BrewTubers. And I don't have a problem balancing it. It does take a lot of time. It does. There's a lot of mail that comes in, like messages. There's a lot of, you know, I have to answer questions. But you know what? I'm helping people. And, you know, beer is such high priced in some areas. If I'm showing people how to make their own, you know what? We're sticking it to the man. You know, we're getting around the red tape of buying really crappy beer.
Yeah.
And paying exorbitant prices for it. I mean, but yeah, it gets challenging sometimes, you know, balancing it, like you said, it does, you know, but I do it, and it keeps me busy, keeps me out of trouble.
Okay. So yeah, what other things do you do apart from YouTube then? You talk about, you do the brewing stuff, and you're a musician. Like, what other hobbies or, you know, things do you do in your spare time?
Well, you know, when I was younger, I've always been a musician, so I play the drums. I'm a songwriter. I play the keyboards and sing. So I have had tried to pursue a musical career when I was younger, between the ages of 18 and 22, 23 years old.
Yeah. Or
maybe even longer. Wasn't for me. You know, I mean, I don't know if it would have ever went anywhere. I mean, I can show you. I've had 40. This is a 45 that I released in 1980. It was in 1989 or something like that.
Oh wow!
Song's called "After All." It's a record, you know.
Yeah.
This was on the radio all over Canada. And I also wrote a song for the Calgary 1988 Calgary Olympics.
Wow, that's
the song's
amazing.
called "Dream on the Horizon," and it was on the radio and featured on a CBC documentary about the Olympics. And so, you know, music really, it was, and electronics. I love electronics. I take it apart and building stuff, you know. Along with the music was a lot of recording my songs in my little home studio. And of course, video. I mentioned I was a videographer. Well, you know, I videotaped weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, you know, everything. Did that for years. Video has always been a big hobby of mine. So audio, video, music. Yeah. What was the question? You asked me the hobbies I have besides YouTube. Yeah, those are the things. And I do carry those over to YouTube. Now, of course, the video side of things, the videographer side of things, obviously, I mean, YouTube is video, right? So those skills have come in handy for making half-decently produced video. The audio side of things with the recording music and whatnot, again, video and audio go hand in hand. You have to have good audio or the video just doesn't work. And music, well, I don't do it anymore much, but I have lots of songs I've written, and I still sing, and I still play the drums and the guitar and the piano. So, but the music's become more of a hobby for me than a profession now.
Okay. What skills has YouTube taught you? You say that you're already into music and videography and stuff like that. Was there any editing skills, or maybe even more of the social side of things, the community marketing and the the social media things? Was there any skills that YouTube has taught you just by being on the site?
Absolutely. I already had the video editing skills from years of videotaping weddings, but and the audio thing too. What I've learned off of YouTube, well, a lot of people learn a lot of things off of YouTube, but as far as my own channel goes, I've learned a lot about making beer from the other brewtubers on YouTube. Because when I started making brewing videos, I was really doing it really basic style.
Yeah.
And when I had to step up my game, I had to learn from other people, and the community as a whole, we all learn from each other. So I've learned a lot, but I think one of the main things I've learned from doing this is how to deal with people, how to be diplomatic, how to read them, how to respond to their reactions, how to talk to them, how to talk to a camera.
Yeah.
You watch those first home brewing videos, I'm not very talkative. And very nervous.
Okay.
So I've learned to be behind a microphone and in front of a camera, and who knows? Maybe someday in the future that will carry to some sort of an employment opportunity.
My penultimate question is: what do you know now that you wish you knew when you started YouTube?
Anything. The learning experience has been fun.
Okay.
Maybe how to deal with trolls. Because maybe back then I dealt with them differently than I do now, because, you're not supposed to feed the trolls, right?
Yeah. But,
back then I didn't know that. And I used to get quite angry and quite offended when somebody would say something stupid in the comments section.
Yeah.
I've learned, I guess, I wish I knew that. But no, I think the whole learning experience has been fun, and I wouldn't change anything.
Okay. And my final question is, does your future lie in YouTube? Is this something you want to pursue in the future and keep going with for the foreseeable future, I guess?
Well, I ain't going anywhere. I have had, and this is where I'm going to go into some of the stuff that you haven't asked, which, you wouldn't know to ask.
Yeah.
There's been, I have something close to 35,000 subscribers now. Now, that's not a huge compared to some people. These people that have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and they've, they're just famous, and they're traveling everywhere, all over the place, in YouTube conventions and whatnot, and that's fine. This is home brewing. It's not bikinis. So home brewing is a niche subject. Not everybody likes beer. Not everybody drinks it, and out of those people who do drink it, very few of them even know that you can make it. No, I'm not going anywhere. So much cool stuff has happened in the past 3 or 4 years. I've met some absolutely amazing people. We've got T-shirts now. I've had people have come to me and said, "I want to help. I want to do something for you. I want to send you something. I want to make a shirt." The very first T-shirts I had were made by a guy called Tester Customs. I don't even know if he's still on YouTube or not. We came up with a design. Actually, I was coming up with a design for a T-shirt, and I was just going to make iron-ons, the ones you print yourself. And I came up with this logo, and it was basically the YouTube logo, except I took the word "you" out and put the word Craig in.
Yeah.
So it was CraigTube with the red, square for the tube.
Yeah.
And it looked just like the YouTube. And this guy came along. He said, "I want to make some shirts for you. Do you have a logo?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." So I sent him the logo, and he printed me up a whole pile of these shirts, and he sent me a big box of them, and I still have a lot of them. And then the idea came up, why don't we sell some of these shirts? Maybe because people were asking for them. They were like, "Can I have one? I want to buy one of those shirts." Well, I couldn't sell them because YouTube probably would sue me for using their logo. So that kind of fell through. But later on, I mean, I'm just going to give you some of I have to give these people credit because this is important.
Okay, yeah.
Another guy came along called TG T-shirts, and he came up with this design. I don't know if you can see it in front of the mic.
You can see that.
And another design too. And he said, you know what? We can sell these. We can provide these for people because it's not the YouTube. It looks a little bit like the YouTube logo.
Yeah, but that's the idea.
It's not exactly. So it still has that, that look to it. And so he produced these shirts for me, and he sent me some, and then we decided to put them for sale, and people bought them. People were all over them, and so there's that. And then there's about 3 years ago, I decided, because I was getting so much messages and mail and questions, I decided I'm going to do a phone-in radio show.
Okay.
So people can call me and ask me questions. I hate typing. I don't want to sit there and answer questions on the keyboard. So if I do a weekly phone-in radio show, people can call in and ask me questions about home brewing, and I can answer them in person. So the first time I did that was on Justin TV, and it was 3 years ago, 2010, I think. I think it was Christmas Eve, 2010, or something like that. And there was, I put a message out there on YouTube saying this is what I'm going to do. Oh, we got about 30 or 40 listeners, and maybe 2 calls. So in between the calls, when we weren't getting any calls, one of the people, there's a chat room.
Yeah.
So it's live, it's a radio, video, and audio, both.
Yeah.
And one of the people in the chat room said, why don't you play some tunes?
Mm-hmm.
So I got out my iPod and I hooked it up to my mixer and I started playing songs. They loved it. So the following Friday, which is Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern is when I do it, I had it all hooked up and I had all my music and all my MP3s, and we started, playing music and taking requests and still taking Skype calls and whatnot. And that turned out to be something that they really enjoyed. And even today now. And it wasn't even a couple of months after I started doing that this woman came along, and she worked with Justin TV more or less, and she said, I want to help you. I want to help you with your channel design. I want to help you with your radio show. I want to, so she designs my pages now for my channel, for my show.
Yeah. And
then you've got the TG T-shirts, Dave. He does my T-shirt sales. I've got a guy called Optimod from New Zealand who now does my liners, my sweepers. On the radio, you got the the station identification like CKOC, where the hits just keep on coming. Yeah. So he does all those for me. I mean, these people just come out of the woodwork, and they don't ask for anything in return. Yeah. They just like to do it. They love to help. It's like this little team. So this is the kind of thing you asked me earlier. What keeps me going? What keeps me? It's the people. It's the community. It's the people who watch. It's the people who comment. It's the people who just appreciate what I do. And every once in a while, I have to stop and pinch myself because I'm a lucky guy. I've tasted beers from all over the world because people have sent them to me. They're like, Craig, I want to send you some beers. I want to send you some beers. I love what you do. You taught me how to make beer. I want to pay you back. And the kindness is just it's amazing. And again, it's the viewers. It's the viewers that keeps me doing what I do. I mean, without them, it's really not. It's not worth it. Yeah. And we've built this wonderful community now on YouTube, and it's spilt over onto the live broadcast. Now, currently, if I may, my live broadcasts are on Vaughn Live. It's VAUGHNLIVE.TV. VaughnLive.tv/CraigTube. Every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's a radio show. We play great music. We take Skype calls. There's a great chat room. We have a lot of fun, and it goes on all night long. And we play games and everything. It's really cool. And that is something that I thought I would never be doing it for this long. But, it's the people in the chat room. It's the comments and the mail I get. And it's the community now that have come from YouTube over to the show. Yeah. And now they're in the chat room talking about beer, how they make it, and how they, the ingredients they use. And people come in and ask questions. Do I sound excited? Yeah. Because it is really exciting. And it's and I have so many people to thank, but of course I'll forget somebody, so they know who they are.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that helped along the way, and it's really a lot of fun. And I ain't going anywhere. I will keep doing this until YouTube shuts down, if that ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I will improve my quality of my videos, and I'll keep helping people. The community has grown now. We've got one of the other guys that now a few other people have now started doing their own live broadcasts as well along the same lines.
Yeah.
And we've got our own little language now. The number 17 has come up. One of our fellow broadcasters, our brewcasters as we call them.
Yeah.
His uncle, watches NASCAR and loves, car number 17. I don't know what the driver's name is, but car number 17. And so he would always, yell, when 17 was coming into the lead, he'd always yell out 17, 17, and hold his beer up, and kind of egg on 17. Well, this brewcaster, whose name is Maniac on, I think he's on Vaughn Live now as well. He decided just to use the word 17 as like cheers, 17.
Yeah.
And now it's gone completely viral. Most people who are home brewers on YouTube know the term 17. It means cheers, bottoms up. It's like a handshake. Yeah. This has all happened. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but I won't. I won't bore everybody. This is what's happened, and I when I look back, you were talking, a little earlier about how it started.
Yeah.
I would never have imagined back then that it would ever turn into what it is. Not just me, not just my channel, which I consider a success, but the whole home brewing community on YouTube. And there's lots of home brewing communities all over the world and on forums and different places. But the YouTube one, it's full of wonderful people, kind people, people who are willing to help each other. Nobody wants to be better than anybody else. Everyone wants to help everybody. And I don't know, if that doesn't sound like something that you want to continue doing, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much, Craig, for coming on How I Became. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below and at the end of this video. His channel is youtube.com/CraigTube. So if you want to go over there, check out his home brewing videos. They're really good. I actually ended up watching most of your first series that you were talking about there, and I really enjoyed myself. So thank you very much for coming on, and
thanks for having me.
I'll
Cheers.
see you guys next time.